Have you noticed that the more you fight aging, the more tired and old you feel? Buddha discovered 2,500 years ago that accelerated aging doesn't come from age. It comes from the mental war you wage against time every day. When you stop resisting and learn these 10 secret meditation practices that monks use, something extraordinary happens. Your body literally begins to regenerate at the cellular level. I'm not talking about positive thinking or visualization. I'm talking about proven techniques that reduce cortisol, increase telomerase, and reverse the biological clock. The seventh technique is so powerful, it was kept secret for centuries because it completely changes how your cells behave. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment what part of the world you're watching from. Get comfortable and relax. Let's begin. Have you ever wondered why so many people swear by meditation for managing stress? It seems almost too simple. Just sit quietly and breathe. Yet the scientific evidence supporting meditation's stress-reducing effects is remarkably robust and continues to grow each year. When researchers first began studying meditation seriously in the 1970s, many in the scientific community were skeptical. Today, however, we have accumulated an impressive body of evidence demonstrating exactly how and why meditation works to reduce stress at both psychological and biological levels. Modern science has effectively transformed meditation from a primarily spiritual practice into a well-documented health intervention. At the physiological level, one of the most consistent findings across studies is meditation's impact on cortisol, often called the stress hormone. Our bodies naturally produce cortisol when we encounter stressful situations, triggering our fight-or-flight response. This was tremendously useful for our ancestors facing physical dangers, but in today's world of chronic stresses, many people experience elevated cortisol levels throughout the day. Multiple controlled studies have shown that regular meditation practice significantly reduces cortisol levels in the bloodstream. One particularly notable study, published in Health Psychology, found that after just 8 weeks of meditation training, participants showed an average decrease in cortisol production of 15% compared to control groups. The advances in neuroimaging technology have revolutionized our understanding of meditation's effects on the brain. Using techniques like functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, and electroencephalography, EEG, scientists can now observe brain activity during meditation in real time. These studies reveal fascinating changes occurring in meditators' brains. One of the most significant findings involves the amygdala, a small, almond-shaped region deep in the brain that acts as our emotional processing center and is particularly responsive to stress and threats. Research conducted at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School found that after 8 weeks of meditation practice, participants showed decreased activity in the amygdala in response to stressful stimuli. Simultaneously, they observed increased activity and density in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive function, rational thinking, and emotional regulation. This shift from amygdala to prefrontal cortex activity represents a neurological explanation for why meditators report feeling less reactive to stresses and more able to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. What's particularly encouraging about the research is that you don't need to become a monk or dedicate hours each day to meditation to experience benefits. Studies indicate that even short daily meditation sessions of 10 to 15 minutes can produce measurable changes in stress responses. A study published in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology found that participants practicing mindfulness meditation for just 12 minutes daily over 8 weeks showed significant reductions in inflammatory markers associated with stress. This suggests that consistency may be more important than duration when it comes to reaping meditation's stress reduction benefits. The physiological mechanisms underlying meditation's stress-reducing effects extend beyond just the brain. Regular practice appears to influence the autonomic nervous system, particularly by balancing the sympathetic fight or flight and parasympathetic rest and digest branches. During stress, our sympathetic nervous system dominates, increasing heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration. Meditation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, effectively countering these stress responses. Research using heart rate variability, HRV, as a measure of autonomic nervous system function consistently shows that meditators develop improved HRV, indicating better stress resilience. One study from the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found that even a single session of meditation could improve HRV parameters in novice meditators, though the effects were more pronounced and lasting in experienced practitioners. Speaking of experience levels, the research clearly indicates that while beginners can and do benefit from meditation, long-term practitioners show more significant and sustained improvements in stress biomarkers. A fascinating study comparing novice meditators to those with thousands of hours of practice found that experienced meditators could more quickly return to baseline stress levels after exposure to a stressor. Brain scans revealed that long-term practitioners had developed more robust structural changes in regions associated with attention, sensory processing, and emotional regulation. These findings suggest that meditation works somewhat like exercise. Initial benefits appear relatively quickly, but deeper changes develop with consistent practice over time. Just as you wouldn't expect to transform your physical fitness with a single gym session, the most profound stress reduction benefits of meditation emerge through regular practice. The real-world applications of these findings are already being implemented in various settings, particularly workplaces. Companies like Google, Apple, and General Mills have developed extensive meditation programs for their employees, and the research supports this investment. A systematic review of workplace meditation programs found they consistently reduced employee stress levels, decreased absenteeism, and improved job satisfaction. One particularly comprehensive study conducted at a major insurance company found that employees participating in a workplace meditation program showed an average reduction of 28% in stress-related symptoms and utilized 13% fewer healthcare services in the year following the program, generating substantial cost savings for the company. The mechanisms through which meditation reduces stress appear to be multifaceted. Beyond the neurological and physiological changes already mentioned, meditation seems to work through psychological pathways as well. Regular meditation practice helps people develop greater metacognitive awareness, essentially the ability to observe their own thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. This creates a crucial space between experiencing a stressor and reacting to it, allowing for more adaptive responses. Meditation also appears to reduce rumination, the tendency to repeatedly dwell on negative thoughts, which is a known contributor to stress and anxiety. A study published in Cognitive Therapy and Research found that an 8-week mindfulness program reduced rumination significantly compared to control groups, with participants reporting less time spent worrying about past events or anticipated future problems. Another psychological mechanism involves attention control. Many meditation practices involve training attention, whether by focusing on breath, bodily sensations, or other anchors. This attentional training appears to generalize beyond the meditation session itself, helping practitioners remain focused on present moment experience rather than becoming caught in stress-inducing thoughts about the past or future. Research published in Emotion demonstrated that improved attention control mediates the relationship between meditation practice and stress reduction. It's worth noting that different meditation techniques appear to affect stress through somewhat different pathways. Focused attention meditation, which involves concentrating on a single object like the breath, seems particularly effective at enhancing attention control and reducing rumination. Open monitoring meditation, which involves non-judgmental awareness of whatever arises in experience, appears especially beneficial for developing emotional regulation skills. Loving kindness meditation, focused on generating feelings of compassion, shows particular strength in counteracting negative emotional states and promoting positive ones. The scientific evidence for meditation's stress-reducing effects continues to grow more sophisticated. Recent research has begun exploring how meditation influences gene expression through epigenetic mechanisms. Preliminary studies suggest that meditation may actually affect how our genes are expressed, particularly those involved in inflammation and stress responses. While this research is still emerging, it points to even deeper biological pathways through which meditation might promote resilience. As impressive as the research is, scientists acknowledge that meditation isn't a panacea and individual responses vary. Some people experience dramatic benefits quickly, while others may need to experiment with different techniques to find what works best for them. What seems clear from the cumulative research is that meditation offers a uniquely powerful, accessible, and cost-effective approach to stress management with benefits that extend well beyond stress reduction itself. The science behind meditation's effects on stress has effectively transformed an ancient practice into a thoroughly modern, evidence-based intervention, one that bridges contemplative traditions and cutting-edge neuroscience in a remarkable way. While the science behind meditation continues to evolve, it's fascinating to consider that these practices weren't developed in laboratories, but emerged independently across numerous cultures throughout human history. This remarkable convergence of contemplative traditions across different civilizations suggests there might be something fundamentally human about the impulse to quiet the mind and turn attention inward. The meditation techniques being studied in today's research labs have their roots in rich cultural traditions spanning thousands of years. These various approaches to meditation, while sharing common elements, evolved quite differently based on their cultural, philosophical, and religious contexts. Understanding these diverse traditions gives us a more complete picture of meditation's global significance and the different ways humans have developed to cultivate inner awareness. In the Buddhist tradition, which originated over 2,500 years ago in what is now northern India and Nepal, meditation developed as a central practice for training the mind. The historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, emphasized meditation as a path to awakening and liberation from suffering. Buddhist meditation techniques are remarkably diverse, but many center around mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to present moment experience with acceptance and non-judgment. Vipassana, often translated as insight meditation, is one of the oldest Buddhist meditation practices. It involves systematically observing bodily sensations and mental activities without reacting to them. This practice trains the mind to see the changing nature of experience, helping practitioners develop wisdom about the impermanent nature of phenomena. In countries like Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka, Vipassana remains a core practice, with intensive meditation retreats where participants meditate for up to 16 hours daily over 10-day periods. Another significant Buddhist meditation approach comes from the Zen tradition, which spread from China to Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. Zen meditation, or zazen, typically involves sitting in specific postures while maintaining awareness of breath and posture. The Zen approach often emphasizes simplicity, directness, and integrating meditative awareness into everyday activities, whether drinking tea, arranging flowers, or practicing archery. This focus on bringing meditative awareness into daily life represents one of Buddhism's unique contributions to meditation practice. The Tibetan Buddhist tradition developed yet another approach, incorporating visualization practices and mantra recitation. Practitioners might visualize peaceful or wrathful deities, representing different aspects of awakened mind, or engage in compassion-based practices like Tonglen, where one imagines taking in others' suffering with the in-breath and sending out relief with the out-breath. These complex meditation systems were preserved in monasteries across Tibet and neighboring Himalayan regions and have only become widely accessible to outsiders in recent decades. While Buddhist traditions emphasize mindfulness and compassion, Hindu meditation approaches, which developed in parallel in the Indian subcontinent, often focus more on concentration and energy management. Dating back at least 5,000 years, these practices frequently aim at union with the divine or universal consciousness. One of the oldest forms is yoga meditation, which was originally far more than the physical posture practice familiar to many Westerners today. In traditional Hindu yoga systems like Raja Yoga, meditation involves progressive stages of concentration. Practitioners typically begin with dharana, focused concentration, progress to dhyana, meditative absorption, and ultimately aim for samadhi, complete absorption or union. This progression requires tremendous mental discipline, with practitioners learning to focus their attention one-pointedly on objects like a candle flame, a geometric symbol, or a mental image of a deity. Another distinctive Hindu approach is found in mantra meditation. Mantras are sacred sounds, words, or phrases repeated aloud or mentally to focus attention and transform consciousness. Perhaps the most famous mantra is Om, or Aum, considered to represent the primordial sound of the universe. In traditions like transcendental meditation, which has roots in Hindu practices but was popularized globally in a more secular form, practitioners receive a personal mantra to repeat mentally during meditation sessions. Moving eastward to China, Taoist meditation traditions developed with their own unique characteristics. Dating back over 2,000 years, Taoist practices typically integrate meditation with physical movement and concepts of energy circulation. Unlike the still-sitting approaches common in many Buddhist and Hindu practices, Taoist meditation often incorporates movement and focuses extensively on cultivating and directing qi, vital energy, through pathways called meridians in the body. Qigong, which literally means energy work, combines breathing, gentle movement, and mental focus to cultivate and balance qi. There are thousands of Qigong forms, ranging from simple breathing exercises to complex movement sequences. Tai Chi, which many people know as a slow-moving martial art, was originally developed as a moving meditation practice with philosophical roots in Taoism. These movement-based meditation practices reflect the Taoist emphasis on harmony with nature and the balance of opposing forces. Taoist meditation also includes more esoteric practices like inner alchemy, where practitioners visualize energy centers in the body and work to transform basic energies into more refined spiritual essences. These practices typically involve complex visualizations combined with breath control and often require guidance from a qualified teacher due to their subtlety and potential intensity. What's particularly interesting about these Asian meditation traditions is how they developed such sophisticated understanding of mind training through direct experience rather than technological instruments. Today's neuroscientists are often amazed to find that ancient meditation manuals describe mental processes that align remarkably well with modern scientific understanding of attention, perception, and consciousness. As meditation practices spread westward, they underwent significant transformation. Western adaptations have largely secularized meditation, separating it from its religious and philosophical origins to make it more accessible in clinical, corporate, and educational settings. This secularization process began in earnest during the 1970s and accelerated in recent decades as scientific research validated meditation's health benefits. Jon Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction (MBSR) program, developed at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center in the 1970s, represents one of the most influential Western adaptations. Kabat-Zinn, who had extensive training in Buddhist meditation, carefully reformulated mindfulness practices to be acceptable in medical settings, stripping them of religious language while preserving their essential techniques. This approach has been tremendously successful, with thousands of MBSR programs now operating in hospitals and clinics worldwide. Corporate mindfulness programs represent another Western adaptation, with companies like Google developing programs like Search Inside Yourself that teach meditation skills in business-friendly language focused on productivity, leadership, and emotional intelligence. These programs typically present meditation as a practical skill rather than a spiritual practice, emphasizing benefits like improved focus, stress reduction, and better decision-making. While these Asian traditions have received the most attention in Western culture, indigenous cultures worldwide have also developed their own contemplative practices that share similarities with formal meditation. Native American traditions, for example, include practices like the vision quest, where individuals spend extended periods alone in nature, fasting and seeking insights through heightened awareness. Many African traditions include rhythmic drumming and dance that can induce altered states of consciousness similar to those reported in meditation. Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime practices involve quiet contemplation and connection with ancestral wisdom. In South American shamanic traditions, focused awareness practices help practitioners develop heightened perception and insight. While these indigenous practices may not be labeled meditation in their original contexts, they share the core element of deliberately training attention and awareness. What's remarkable about all these traditions is that despite developing independently across different continents and centuries, they share certain common elements. Most involve some form of attention regulation, whether focusing on a specific object or cultivating open awareness. Most also emphasize the importance of posture and breath. And virtually all traditions recognize that these practices develop gradually through consistent training rather than providing instant results. Modern scientific research is now validating techniques from these diverse traditions, creating an interesting bridge between ancient wisdom and contemporary science. For example, studies have found that Tibetan Buddhist compassion meditation increases activity in brain regions associated with empathy. Research on transcendental meditation shows distinctive patterns of brainwave coherence. Studies of Qigong practitioners reveal effects on the immune system and cardiovascular function. This cross-cultural validation suggests that despite their different contexts and philosophies, these various meditation traditions may be accessing similar human capacities for altered awareness and self-regulation. It's as if different cultures discovered different doors into the same room of human potential. The diversity of meditation traditions also offers practical benefits for modern practitioners. With so many different approaches available, people can find techniques that resonate with their temperament, goals, and worldview. Someone who finds sitting still challenging might connect with movement-based Taoist practices. A person interested in emotional development might be drawn to compassion-focused Buddhist practices. Someone seeking stress relief might prefer simple mindfulness or mantra techniques. Understanding this rich diversity also helps us appreciate that there's no single right way to meditate. The various traditions offer different techniques for different purposes, developed within specific cultural contexts. Rather than debating which approach is best, we can recognize that each tradition offers valuable insights and techniques that might be helpful for different people or different life circumstances. As meditation continues to grow in popularity globally, this cross-cultural perspective becomes increasingly important. It helps us avoid reducing these rich traditions to simplified techniques stripped of their context and wisdom. It also encourages respectful engagement with the cultures that developed and preserved these practices over centuries, often through periods when they were at risk of being lost. The ongoing dialogue between traditional meditation lineages and modern scientific research represents one of the most promising developments in this field. Traditional meditation masters offer insights from centuries of refined practice and observation, while scientists contribute precise measurement methods and theoretical frameworks. Together, they're developing a more complete understanding of how these ancient practices affect our modern minds and bodies. This fascinating cross-cultural perspective on meditation traditions provides the perfect backdrop for understanding one of the most compelling aspects of meditation research today: its effects on our cognitive abilities. While the spiritual and philosophical dimensions of meditation have been explored for millennia, modern science is now revealing how these practices literally reshape the way our brains function, particularly when it comes to attention and cognitive performance. Beyond stress reduction or cultural practice, meditation appears to be a powerful cognitive enhancement tool. The research on how meditation affects our ability to think, focus, and process information has exploded over the past 2 decades, with particularly robust findings in the area of attention, our ability to direct and sustain mental focus on chosen tasks or stimuli. Attention is fundamentally important to almost everything we do. It's the gateway to learning, the foundation of effective work, and essential for navigating our increasingly distraction-filled world. And the evidence suggests that meditation might be one of the most effective methods we have for strengthening this crucial cognitive capacity. Multiple studies using rigorous experimental designs have demonstrated that regular meditation practice enhances various aspects of attention. A landmark study published in Psychological Science followed participants through a 3-month intensive meditation retreat, testing their attention capabilities before, during, and after the training. The researchers found significant improvements in sustained attention, the ability to maintain focus on a task over time. Remarkably, these improvements persisted even when participants were tested 5 months after the retreat ended, suggesting meditation creates lasting changes in attentional capacity. What's particularly interesting is how meditation affects different types of attention. Scientists typically distinguish between several attention networks in the brain: alerting, maintaining alertness, orienting, directing attention to specific stimuli, and executive attention, resolving conflicts among competing responses. Research indicates that different meditation practices may strengthen different attention networks. For instance, focused attention meditation, where you concentrate on a specific object like the breath, appears particularly effective at enhancing executive attention, while open monitoring meditation, where you maintain broad awareness without focusing on any particular object, seems to improve alerting attention. Beyond basic attention, meditation has been shown to enhance executive function, a set of mental skills that include working memory, cognitive flexibility, and inhibitory control. These are the high-level cognitive processes that allow us to plan, prioritize, and complete complex tasks. A meta-analysis published in the journal Mindfulness reviewed 23 studies on meditation and executive function, concluding that meditation training had significant positive effects on these crucial cognitive capabilities. One of the most intriguing areas of research involves how meditation might protect cognitive function as we age. Cognitive decline is a normal part of aging, with processing speed, attention, and memory typically showing gradual decreases beginning in our 30s or 40s. However, longitudinal studies suggest that regular meditation practice may help preserve these cognitive abilities. A particularly compelling study published in the Journal of Cognitive Enhancement followed older adult meditators and non-meditators over 7 years. The researchers found that the meditation group showed no significant decline in fluid intelligence, the ability to solve novel problems, or perceptual discrimination over the study period, while the non-meditation group showed normal age-related declines. This suggests meditation might be serving as a kind of cognitive reserve, helping maintain mental sharpness despite the natural aging process. The mechanisms behind these cognitive benefits appear to involve actual physical changes in the brain, a property known as neuroplasticity. Our brains remain changeable throughout our lives, capable of forming new neural connections and even generating new neurons in certain brain regions. Meditation seems to leverage this neuroplasticity in particularly beneficial ways. Neuroimaging studies have revealed that regular meditation practice is associated with increased gray matter density in brain regions involved in attention, sensory processing, and executive function. For instance, a study published in Neuroimage found that long-term meditators had greater gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex and right anterior insula, regions critical for attention and awareness. Another study found increased cortical thickness in the hippocampus, which plays a vital role in learning and memory. These structural changes are complemented by functional changes, differences in how the brain actually operates. EEG studies, which measure electrical activity in the brain, show that experienced meditators exhibit different patterns of brainwave activity compared to non-meditators. Specifically, they tend to show increased gamma wave synchrony, which is associated with high-level cognitive processing and heightened awareness. One particularly fascinating line of research involves the default mode network DMN, a set of interconnected brain regions that become active when we're not focused on the external world and our minds are wandering. Excessive DMN activity is associated with rumination, worry, and distraction. Studies show that meditation appears to modulate DMN activity, helping explain why meditators report fewer intrusive thoughts and greater ability to stay present during tasks. Working memory, our ability to hold and manipulate information in mind over short periods, is another cognitive function that seems to benefit from meditation. This is the mental workspace that allows us to perform complex cognitive tasks like reasoning, comprehension, and learning. A study published in Psychological Science found that just 2 weeks of meditation training significantly improved participants' working memory capacity and reduced mind wandering during a demanding cognitive task. The attentional and cognitive benefits of meditation don't just show up in laboratory tests. They translate into real-world performance improvements. This is particularly evident in educational settings, where mindfulness and meditation programs are increasingly being implemented. Research on school-based meditation programs has found improvements in students' attention spans, executive function, and academic performance. A controlled study in an elementary school found that 4th and 5th grade students who participated in a mindfulness program showed improvements in executive function, particularly cognitive control and working memory, compared to students in a control group. These cognitive improvements were associated with better classroom behavior and academic performance. The effects were especially pronounced for children who began with poor executive function skills, suggesting meditation might be particularly beneficial for students who struggle with attention and self-regulation. Similar findings have emerged from studies with college students. Research published in the journal Mindfulness found that university students who participated in a brief meditation training showed improved performance on the Graduate Record Examination, GRE, a standardized test used for graduate school admissions. Specifically, the meditation group showed significant improvements in reading comprehension scores, which the researchers attributed to enhanced focus and reduced mind wandering during the test. For adults in workplace settings, the cognitive benefits of meditation can translate into improved job performance. A study conducted at a high-stress corporate environment found that employees who completed an 8-week meditation program showed improvements in multitasking abilities and attention compared to a control group. They reported feeling less stressed while actually accomplishing more work with fewer errors, a compelling combination for both employees and employers. What's particularly encouraging about the research on meditation and cognitive function is that the benefits appear to begin relatively quickly. While long-term practitioners show the most pronounced effects, studies have found measurable improvements in attention and working memory after just 8 weeks of regular practice, with some studies detecting changes after just a few days of intensive training. The specific technique used in meditation appears to influence the cognitive benefits obtained. Focused attention meditation, which involves concentrating on a single object like the breath while monitoring and managing distractions, directly trains the brain's ability to sustain concentration. This practice essentially serves as a workout for attention networks, strengthening them through repeated use, much like physical exercise strengthens muscles. Open monitoring meditation, which involves maintaining broad awareness of whatever arises in experience without focusing on any particular object, appears to enhance different aspects of cognition, particularly cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt thinking strategies to new situations. Both approaches offer valuable cognitive training, and many meditation programs incorporate elements of both. The cognitive benefits of meditation appear to stem from several interrelated mechanisms. First, meditation trains meta-awareness, the ability to observe your own mental processes. This increased awareness of when your mind has wandered allows you to redirect attention more effectively. Second, meditation strengthens cognitive control, improving your ability to ignore distractions and avoid automatic reactions. Third, it appears to enhance attentional stability, allowing for longer periods of uninterrupted focus. These improvements in basic cognitive functions have cascading effects on more complex cognitive tasks. Better attention leads to improved learning since you're able to stay focused on material longer. Enhanced working memory supports better reasoning and problem solving. Improved cognitive control contributes to better decision-making and reduced impulsivity. For anyone looking to enhance their cognitive function through meditation, the research suggests a few key principles. Consistency appears more important than duration. Regular shorter sessions yield more benefits than occasional longer ones. Different techniques train different aspects of cognition, so varying your practice might provide broader benefits. And while benefits begin appearing relatively quickly, they deepen with continued practice, so patience and persistence are important. It's worth noting that while the research on meditation and cognition is promising, it has limitations. Many studies have relatively small sample sizes, and there's still much to learn about which techniques work best for which cognitive outcomes. That said, the overall pattern of results across multiple studies and research methods provides compelling evidence that meditation can be a powerful tool for enhancing cognitive function and preserving mental clarity throughout life. As our world grows increasingly complex and distraction-filled, the ability to manage attention effectively becomes ever more valuable. The ancient practice of meditation, refined across cultures for thousands of years, may be more relevant than ever as a method for cultivating the focused mind needed to thrive in the modern world. While cognitive improvements are certainly valuable, perhaps even more significant is meditation's profound impact on our emotional lives. After all, the ability to focus your attention effectively means little if you're constantly overwhelmed by difficult emotions or struggling with conditions like anxiety and depression. This brings us to one of the most promising applications of meditation in contemporary life: its role in emotional regulation and mental health improvement. The relationship between meditation and emotional well-being has been the subject of extensive research over the past 3 decades, with particularly robust evidence emerging for its effectiveness in managing anxiety, depression, and everyday emotional challenges. What makes this area especially compelling is how meditation appears to work not by eliminating difficult emotions, but by changing our relationship to them. Clinical research has consistently demonstrated meditation's effectiveness as a complementary approach for managing anxiety disorders. A meta-analysis published in JAMA Internal Medicine reviewed 47 trials with over 3,000 participants and found that mindfulness meditation programs showed moderate evidence of improved anxiety across various patient populations. For individuals with generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, or social anxiety, meditation-based interventions often produce significant symptom reduction. Similarly, robust findings exist for depression. A landmark study published in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology found that mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, reduced the risk of depression relapse by approximately 44% in participants with 3 or more previous episodes of major depression. This made it roughly as effective as maintenance antidepressant medication for preventing relapse, offering an alternative or complementary approach for people who prefer non-pharmaceutical options or cannot tolerate medication side effects. What's particularly fascinating about meditation's impact on emotional health is how it works. Rather than directly eliminating negative emotions, meditation helps individuals develop greater awareness of emotional patterns without immediately reacting to them. This creates a crucial space between experiencing an emotion and acting on it, what psychologists sometimes call the pause. For example, someone with anxiety might typically experience an anxious thought, immediately believe it, feel the corresponding physical sensations of anxiety, and then engage in avoidance behaviors that actually reinforce the anxiety long term. Through meditation practice, that same person might still experience the anxious thought, but now has the capacity to recognize, "I'm having an anxious thought," without automatically believing it or being compelled to act on it. This small shift makes an enormous difference in how emotions influence behavior. Neuroscientist and clinical psychologist Dr. Philippe Goldin explains this process. Mindfulness helps us develop the capacity to see thoughts as mental events that come and go, rather than as facts about the world or ourselves that we must act upon. This cognitive diffusion, the ability to separate from thoughts rather than being fused with them, appears to be a key mechanism in meditation's mental health benefits. The evidence for meditation's effectiveness has led to the development of several structured meditation-based interventions that are now widely used in clinical settings. Besides the previously mentioned MBCT, which combines mindfulness meditation with elements of cognitive therapy specifically to prevent depression relapse, another prominent approach is mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. Developed by John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center in the 1970s, MBSR was originally created for patients with chronic pain but has shown effectiveness for various mental health conditions. These structured programs typically run for 8 weeks with weekly group sessions of 2 to 2.5 hours, plus daily home practice of 30 to 45 minutes. They teach formal meditation practices like body scan meditation, sitting meditation, and mindful movement, along with informal practices that integrate mindfulness into daily activities. The group format provides support, motivation, and shared learning, while the daily home practice helps build the mental habits that lead to lasting change. Regular practitioners of meditation often report increased emotional resilience, the ability to recover quickly from difficulties, and reduced emotional reactivity to stressors. Research supports these subjective reports. A study published in Emotion found that even brief mindfulness training reduced emotional reactivity to negative images, as measured by both self-report and physiological markers like heart rate variability. This suggests meditation helps modulate emotional responses, neither suppressing emotions, which can be unhealthy, nor becoming overwhelmed by them. Neuroimaging studies reveal the brain changes that might explain these emotional benefits. Research using functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, shows that meditation training alters activity in the amygdala, a brain region central to processing emotions, particularly fear and threat. After 8 weeks of meditation training, participants showed decreased amygdala activation when viewing emotionally challenging images, suggesting reduced reactivity to emotional stimuli. Even more interesting is how meditation affects connectivity between brain regions. Studies show enhanced connections between the prefrontal cortex, involved in executive function, and the amygdala after meditation training. This improved connectivity may underlie the increased ability to regulate emotions as the thinking brain becomes better able to modulate the emotional brain's responses. These neurobiological changes help explain why meditation can be effective for specific mental health conditions. For anxiety disorders, meditation helps break the cycle of worry and rumination by training attention to return to the present moment rather than getting caught in anxious thoughts about the future. For depression, it helps individuals recognize the early signs of depressive thinking and step back from the downward spiral of negative thoughts that can trigger relapse. Beyond clinical populations, meditation offers emotional regulation benefits for everyday life. Most of us face situations that trigger difficult emotions, conflicts at work, relationship challenges, financial stressors, or health concerns. Meditation doesn't eliminate these situations, but it can transform how we respond to them. Regular practitioners report being less likely to get stuck in unproductive emotional states and more able to choose effective responses rather than automatic reactions. The integration of meditation practices into established psychotherapy approaches has expanded treatment options for various mental health conditions. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, and certain forms of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, all incorporate mindfulness principles and practices. This integration often makes treatments more effective by addressing both specific symptoms and the underlying patterns of attention and awareness that maintain psychological difficulties. It's important to note that while the research on meditation and mental health is promising, it also has limitations. Not all studies show positive effects, and meditation may not be equally effective for everyone. Some individuals with severe trauma histories or certain psychiatric conditions may need additional support when beginning meditation practice, as increased awareness can sometimes temporarily intensify difficult emotions or memories. The dose-response relationship, how much meditation is needed for mental health benefits, also remains somewhat unclear. Some studies show benefits from just 8 weeks of regular practice, while others suggest deeper and more lasting benefits come with longer-term practice. What seems clear is that consistency matters more than duration. Regular shorter sessions yield more benefits than occasional longer ones. For those interested in exploring meditation for emotional well-being, several practical considerations are worth keeping in mind. First, different meditation techniques may offer different emotional benefits. Focused attention practices like breath meditation can help break rumination cycles, while compassion-based practices like loving-kindness meditation directly cultivate positive emotions and may be particularly helpful for conditions involving self-criticism or social disconnection. Second, meditation works best as part of a comprehensive approach to mental health that might include appropriate professional care, social support, physical activity, and other evidence-based strategies. It's generally best viewed as a complement to, rather than replacement for, conventional treatments for diagnosed mental health conditions. Finally, patience is essential when using meditation for emotional health. Unlike medication, which can sometimes provide rapid symptom relief, meditation works by gradually training mental habits over time. The benefits often accumulate slowly but tend to be more sustainable once established. As meditation teacher Sharon Salzberg puts it, meditation is not about getting somewhere else. It's about allowing yourself to be exactly where you are and exactly what you are, and for that to be enough. The integration of ancient meditation practices with modern psychological science represents a promising development in mental health care. It offers approaches that empower individuals with skills for managing their own emotional lives, potentially reducing dependence on external interventions. For many people struggling with emotional challenges, the discovery that they can develop a different relationship with difficult thoughts and feelings through meditation practice provides hope and a sense of agency that can be transformative in itself. As our understanding of meditation's effects on emotional regulation continues to grow, it's likely we'll see even more sophisticated applications in mental health treatment, perhaps with practices tailored to specific conditions or even to individual neurobiological profiles. The current evidence already suggests that these ancient practices offer valuable tools for navigating the emotional challenges of modern life. This ability to develop a different relationship with challenging mental experiences through meditation extends beyond emotional struggles to another profoundly difficult aspect of human experience: physical pain. Whether chronic or acute, pain can be one of life's most distressing and debilitating experiences, affecting approximately 100 million Americans and countless more worldwide. Traditional approaches to pain management have often relied heavily on medication, particularly opioids, with well-documented limitations and risks. Against this backdrop, the evidence for meditation as a complementary approach to pain management offers a promising alternative that addresses pain's complex physical, mental, and emotional dimensions. Clinical trials over the past 4 decades have consistently demonstrated meditation's effectiveness in reducing perceived pain intensity and improving quality of life for people with chronic pain conditions. One of the earliest rigorous studies was conducted by John Kabat-Zinn, who found that participants with chronic pain who completed an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program showed significant reductions in pain ratings and pain-related limitations compared to a control group. What was particularly notable about this early research was that participants continued to report benefits up to 4 years later, suggesting meditation provided sustainable pain management skills rather than just temporary relief. More recent research has reinforced these findings across diverse pain conditions. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in JAMA Internal Medicine reviewed 38 randomized controlled trials and found that mindfulness meditation showed moderate to large effects in reducing pain intensity across various chronic pain conditions, including fibromyalgia, back pain, arthritis, and headache disorders. Importantly, these benefits were achieved without the side effects associated with many pain medications. What makes meditation's impact on pain particularly interesting is how it works. Unlike pain medications, which primarily target the sensory aspects of pain by blocking pain signals, meditation appears to work by changing how the brain processes and responds to pain that is already being experienced. Neuroimaging studies have provided fascinating insights into these mechanisms, showing that meditation alters brain activity in regions responsible for pain perception and processing. Research using functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI) has found that experienced meditators show decreased activity in the primary somatosensory cortex, a brain region involved in registering the sensory aspects of pain, like its location and intensity. At the same time, these meditators show increased activity in brain regions involved in cognitive control and contextual evaluation of sensations. This neural pattern suggests meditation helps separate the sensory experience of pain from the emotional and cognitive reactions that often amplify suffering. A particularly illuminating study conducted at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center found that just 4 days of mindfulness meditation training reduced pain intensity ratings by 27% and pain unpleasantness ratings by 44%. The brain scans showed that meditation-induced pain relief was associated with increased activity in brain regions involved in cognitive control and decreased activity in the thalamus, which acts as a gateway for sensory information to reach the brain. This suggests meditation may create a filtering mechanism that reduces the brain's receptivity to painful stimuli. The psychological mechanisms underlying meditation's effectiveness for pain management are equally fascinating. One key mechanism involves increased pain acceptance, the willingness to experience pain without futile attempts to control or avoid it. Many chronic pain sufferers become caught in cycles of resistance and avoidance that paradoxically increase suffering. Meditation cultivates the capacity to observe pain sensations with less reactivity and aversion, which often reduces the emotional distress that amplifies pain perception. Another important psychological mechanism involves reduced catastrophizing, the tendency to imagine the worst possible pain outcomes and ruminate on pain sensations. Catastrophizing is one of the strongest predictors of poor pain outcomes and increased disability. Meditation training has been shown to significantly reduce pain catastrophizing by helping individuals recognize catastrophic thoughts as mental events rather than accurate reflections of reality. This cognitive shift can dramatically reduce the psychological amplification of pain signals. Long-term meditation practice appears to build resilience to pain through both physiological and psychological pathways. A remarkable study published in the Journal of Neuroscience compared experienced Zen meditators to non-meditators during a painful heat stimulus. The meditators reported feeling the sensory aspects of pain just as intensely as non-meditators, but experienced significantly less emotional distress in response to the pain. Brain scans showed the meditators had thicker cortical regions associated with attention and sensory processing, suggesting that regular meditation practice may create structural brain changes that support more effective pain processing. What's particularly encouraging about meditation for pain management is that it can be effectively integrated with conventional medical approaches rather than requiring patients to choose between traditional treatment and complementary methods. Many pain clinics and hospital systems now incorporate meditation-based interventions into comprehensive pain management programs alongside appropriate medication, physical therapy, and other evidence-based treatments. For example, the Mayo Clinic's Pain Rehabilitation Center includes mindfulness training as a core component of its treatment protocol. Patients learn to apply mindfulness skills to daily activities in challenging situations while also receiving conventional pain treatments. This integrated approach often produces better outcomes than either approach alone, especially for complex chronic pain conditions that don't respond adequately to single-modality treatments. Patients who have benefited from meditation for pain management frequently report improvements not only in pain levels, but also in associated symptoms like sleep disturbance, fatigue, and mood fluctuations. This makes sense given pain's complex interactions with these other aspects of well-being. Poor sleep often exacerbates pain, which then further disrupts sleep in a difficult cycle. By addressing the mental habits that perpetuate these cycles, meditation can help break the patterns that maintain chronic pain conditions. Sarah, a 47-year-old woman with fibromyalgia who participated in an 8-week mindfulness program, described her experience. "I still have pain every day, but my relationship with it has completely changed. Before, when pain flared up, I'd panic and think, 'This is terrible. It's going to get worse. I can't handle this.' That thinking would tense my muscles and actually make the pain worse. Now I can notice the pain without freaking out about it. I just think there's pain happening right now, and somehow that makes it more manageable. My pain ratings have gone down, but more importantly, the pain doesn't control my life anymore." Stories like Sarah's highlight an important point about meditation for pain management. The goal isn't necessarily to eliminate pain completely, which may not be possible for many chronic conditions, but rather to reduce suffering and improve functioning despite pain. This realistic approach may actually be more helpful than pursuing complete pain elimination, which can lead to disappointment and treatment abandonment when that goal isn't achieved. Different meditation techniques appear to offer different benefits for pain management. Focused attention meditation, which involves concentrating on a specific object like the breath, can help redirect attention away from pain sensations. Open monitoring meditation, which involves maintaining broad awareness of whatever arises in experience, can help reduce reactivity to pain. Body scan meditation, which involves systematically attending to different body regions, can help individuals develop a more nuanced relationship with bodily sensations, including pain. For those interested in exploring meditation for pain management, several practical considerations are worth keeping in mind. First, consistency appears more important than duration. Regular shorter sessions yield more benefits than occasional longer ones. Second, guidance from qualified instructors familiar with pain-specific applications of meditation can be particularly helpful, as they can offer modifications for physical limitations and address common challenges that arise when meditating with pain. Finally, patience is essential, as the benefits of meditation for pain typically develop gradually over weeks or months of regular practice. It's important to acknowledge that meditation isn't a panacea for all pain conditions and may not be equally effective for everyone. Certain pain conditions with predominantly peripheral mechanisms may be less responsive to meditation-based approaches than conditions with stronger central nervous system involvement. Individual factors like pain duration, beliefs about pain, and concurrent mental health conditions also influence how helpful meditation might be for a particular person. That said, given meditation's minimal side effects, low cost, and potential benefits beyond pain reduction, it represents a valuable option worth considering for many people with persistent pain. The skills learned through meditation practice, present moment awareness, reduced reactivity, increased acceptance, and the ability to disengage from unhelpful thoughts, can be applied not just to pain, but to the many challenges that often accompany chronic pain conditions, from navigating healthcare systems to managing relationships affected by pain limitations. As research in this area continues to advance, we're likely to gain even more nuanced understanding of which meditation approaches work best for specific pain conditions and individual characteristics. This may eventually enable more personalized recommendations that maximize meditation's benefits for pain management. The current evidence already suggests that these ancient contemplative practices offer valuable tools for transforming the experience of one of humanity's most universal and challenging experiences. While meditation's impact on pain is certainly valuable, it also offers benefits for another fundamental aspect of human health that affects nearly everyone: sleep. In fact, the relationship between pain and sleep problems often creates a vicious cycle, with pain disrupting sleep and poor sleep exacerbating pain sensitivity. Meditation's ability to address both of these interconnected issues makes it a particularly valuable practice for overall well-being. The evidence supporting meditation's positive effects on sleep quality has grown substantially in recent years, offering hope for the millions of people worldwide who struggle with insomnia and other sleep disturbances. Research consistently indicates that regular meditation practice can improve multiple aspects of sleep, including how quickly you fall asleep, how long you stay asleep, and the overall quality of your sleep. A randomized controlled trial published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that participants who completed a standardized mindfulness meditation program showed significant improvements in sleep quality compared to those who received conventional sleep education. These participants fell asleep more quickly, stayed asleep longer, and reported feeling more rested upon waking. What makes meditation particularly effective for sleep issues is how it addresses one of the primary culprits behind poor sleep: the racing, ruminating mind that keeps many people awake at night. Most of us have experienced lying in bed while our thoughts spiral through worries about the day behind us or anxieties about the day ahead. This mental activity triggers the body's stress response system, making it physiologically difficult to transition into the relaxed state necessary for sleep. Meditation techniques help break this cycle by training the mind to recognize thought patterns without becoming entangled in them. Dr. Jason Ong, a sleep psychologist at Northwestern University who researches meditation-based interventions for insomnia, explains, "Mindfulness helps us relate differently to our thoughts. Instead of being caught up in thoughts like, 'I'll never fall asleep' or 'I'll be a wreck tomorrow,' we learn to observe these thoughts as mental events rather than facts. This reduces the stress response that makes sleep difficult." The physiological changes that occur during meditation create conditions more conducive to restful sleep. When we meditate, our autonomic nervous system shifts from sympathetic dominance, the fight or flight state, toward parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest state. This shift is characterized by decreased heart rate, lowered blood pressure, slowed breathing, and reduced muscle tension, changes that mirror the physiological state necessary for falling asleep. Research using polysomnography, which measures brainwaves, oxygen levels, heart rate, and breathing during sleep, has found that regular meditators spend more time in deep sleep stages compared to non-meditators. Deep sleep, also known as slow-wave sleep, is particularly important for physical restoration and immune function. This suggests meditation may not only help you fall asleep more easily, but may also improve the restorative quality of the sleep you get. The clinical applications of these findings have led to the development of specialized approaches like mindfulness-based therapy for insomnia, MBTI. This program combines elements of traditional cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia with mindfulness practices specifically adapted for sleep issues. Studies of MBTI show promising results, with participants experiencing reduced insomnia severity, decreased time to fall asleep, and fewer nighttime awakenings without the side effects that often accompany sleep medications. The pharmaceutical approach to sleep problems, while sometimes necessary, comes with significant drawbacks. Sleep medications can cause dependency, morning grogginess, memory problems, and even unusual behaviors like sleep eating or sleep driving. As awareness of these risks has grown, interest in non-pharmaceutical approaches like meditation has increased among both patients and healthcare providers looking for effective alternatives with fewer side effects. For many people, incorporating evening meditation routines can serve as effective transitions between daytime activity and sleep preparation. these practices help signal to both mind and body that it's time to wind down. A simple body scan meditation, where attention is systematically moved through different parts of the body while releasing tension, can be particularly effective as part of a pre-sleep routine. Similarly, gentle breathing practices that extend the exhale longer than the inhale activate the parasympathetic nervous system, creating the physiological conditions conducive to sleep. Jennifer, a 36-year-old marketing executive who struggled with insomnia for years, described her experience. "I used to dread bedtime because I knew I'd just lie there with my mind racing about work deadlines and family responsibilities. After learning meditation, I started doing a 15-minute practice before bed. Sometimes I still wake up in the night, but now I have tools to help me get back to sleep instead of spiraling into worry about being awake. I do some mindful breathing and often drift off within minutes instead of being up for hours." What's particularly interesting about the relationship between meditation and sleep is that it appears to be bidirectional. Not only does meditation improve sleep quality, but better sleep also enhances the benefits of meditation practice. When we're well rested, we're more able to maintain attention and awareness during meditation, creating a positive feedback loop. Conversely, trying to meditate while severely sleep-deprived can be challenging, as the mind is more likely to drift into drowsiness rather than achieving the alert, relaxed awareness that characterizes effective practice. This bidirectional relationship suggests improvements in either area can positively impact the other. Someone struggling with both poor sleep and difficulty establishing a meditation practice might focus first on whichever aspect seems more accessible. Small improvements in sleep might make meditation easier, which then further improves sleep, creating momentum for positive change in both areas. Different meditation techniques appear to offer somewhat different benefits for sleep. Focused attention practices like breath meditation can help quiet an overactive mind that prevents sleep onset. Body-based practices like progressive relaxation directly address physical tension that interferes with sleep. Compassion-based practices like loving-kindness meditation may be particularly helpful for people whose sleep is disrupted by interpersonal concerns or social anxiety. The timing of meditation practice also influences its effects on sleep. While evening meditation can directly facilitate the transition to sleep, research suggests that consistent morning or daytime meditation also improves nighttime sleep quality. A study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that participants who practiced meditation during the day experienced improved sleep quality at night, even though the meditation wasn't done immediately before bedtime. This suggests meditation's effects on sleep extend beyond its immediate relaxation benefits and may involve broader changes in how the brain and body regulate stress throughout the day. For those specifically interested in improving sleep through meditation, several practical considerations are worth keeping in mind. First, consistency appears more important than duration. Regular shorter sessions yield more benefits than occasional longer ones. Second, if practicing close to bedtime, gentler techniques focused on relaxation rather than alert attention may be more sleep-conducive. Third, patience is essential, as the benefits of meditation for sleep typically develop gradually over weeks of regular practice rather than producing immediate dramatic improvements. It's also important to recognize that meditation is most effective for sleep when combined with good sleep hygiene practices. These include maintaining consistent sleep-wake times, creating a cool, dark, and quiet sleep environment, limiting evening screen exposure, avoiding caffeine later in the day, and establishing a relaxing pre-sleep routine. Meditation can be a powerful component of this routine but works best within the context of overall healthy sleep habits. For people with severe or long-standing insomnia, meditation works best as part of a comprehensive approach that might include appropriate medical evaluation and treatment. Certain sleep disorders like sleep apnea require specific medical interventions, and meditation should complement rather than replace these necessary treatments. That said, even people receiving medical treatment for sleep disorders often benefit from adding meditation to their treatment protocol, as it addresses the psychological aspects of sleep problems that medications alone don't target. The research on meditation and sleep continues to evolve, with newer studies using increasingly sophisticated methods to understand the mechanisms involved. One promising area of investigation involves how meditation affects circadian rhythms, the internal biological clocks that regulate sleep-wake cycles. Preliminary research suggests regular meditation practice may help strengthen and regulate these circadian rhythms, potentially explaining some of its benefits for sleep quality. Another fascinating area of research explores how meditation affects dream states and REM sleep. Some studies suggest experienced meditators show different patterns of brain activity during REM sleep and report greater dream lucidity, awareness that one is dreaming while in the dream state. This suggests the increased awareness cultivated during waking meditation practice may extend into sleep states, though more research is needed to fully understand these connections. For anyone struggling with sleep issues, which includes approximately 1/3 of adults at any given time, meditation offers a valuable approach worth considering. Its minimal side effects, accessibility, and growing evidence base make it an attractive option either as a standalone practice for mild sleep difficulties or as a complementary approach alongside conventional treatments for more severe sleep disorders. The benefits extend beyond just improving sleep itself to enhancing overall quality of life. When we sleep better, we think more clearly, regulate emotions more effectively, and maintain better physical health. These improvements create more favorable conditions for meditation practice, which then further enhances well-being across multiple dimensions. This virtuous cycle represents one of the most compelling aspects of the relationship between meditation and sleep. Improvements in either area tend to generate broader benefits that extend into many aspects of life. Beyond the personal health benefits of better sleep and reduced pain, meditation offers something that extends far beyond the individual. It can transform how we relate to others. While we often think of meditation as a solitary practice focused on our own inner experience, research is revealing how certain meditation techniques can dramatically enhance our capacity for compassion, empathy, and positive social connections. These findings suggest meditation might be not just a personal well-being practice, but a potential tool for creating more harmonious relationships and communities. The research in this area focuses particularly on specific meditation practices designed to cultivate compassion and positive social emotions. Unlike concentration practices that focus attention on the breath or body sensations, compassion-based meditations intentionally generate feelings of goodwill, kindness, and care toward oneself and others. The most well-studied of these approaches is loving-kindness meditation, a practice that originated in Buddhist traditions but has been adapted for secular contexts. In loving-kindness meditation, practitioners systematically direct well wishes toward themselves and an expanding circle of others, often using phrases like, "May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you live with ease." The practice typically begins with directing these wishes toward oneself, then toward loved ones, then neutral people, then difficult people, and eventually all beings. This graduated approach helps systematically expand the circle of care and concern beyond those we naturally feel connected to. The research findings on these practices are remarkable. A landmark study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that just 7 minutes of loving-kindness meditation increased feelings of social connection and positivity toward strangers. More extensive training shows even more significant effects. A study at Stanford University found that after 9 weeks of compassion meditation training, participants demonstrated measurable increases in prosocial behaviors and altruistic actions compared to control groups. What's particularly fascinating is how these internal practices translate into observable behavioral changes. Research participants who complete compassion meditation training are more likely to help someone in need, donate to charity, and cooperate rather than compete in experimental economic games. For example, in one study, Participants who had completed compassion training donated twice as much money to a victim of unfair treatment compared to those who had completed a control training. Neuroimaging studies help explain these behavioral changes by revealing what happens in the brain during and after compassion meditation. Research using functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI) shows increased activity in brain regions associated with empathy and positive social connection following compassion training. Specifically, these practices activate the insular and anterior cingulate cortex, areas involved in understanding others' emotions, as well as the medial prefrontal cortex, which plays a role in perspective taking. A particularly interesting study conducted at the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that expert compassion meditators showed dramatically different brain responses when exposed to sounds of human suffering compared to novices. While both groups showed activation in empathy-related brain regions, the experienced meditators also showed strong activation in areas associated with positive emotions and readiness for action. This suggests that with training, the brain can learn to respond to others' suffering not with distress or avoidance, but with positive engagement and a motivation to help. One of the most promising applications of compassion meditation involves its potential to counteract implicit bias and increase positive regard for members of different social groups. We all carry unconscious biases that can influence our behavior toward others without our awareness. Research suggests that loving-kindness meditation may help reduce these automatic biases by expanding our sense of who belongs in our in-group. A study published in the journal Motivation and Emotion found that a brief loving-kindness meditation reduced implicit bias toward Black individuals and homeless people among white participants. Another study found that 6 weeks of loving-kindness practice reduced implicit bias toward individuals with physical disabilities. These findings suggest compassion practices may help bridge social divides by addressing the unconscious attitudes that often underlie discrimination and social conflict. Organizations implementing compassion meditation programs report improvements in workplace relationships and conflict resolution. Google's Search Inside Yourself program, which includes substantial compassion training elements, has been associated with improved communication, better team collaboration, and more effective leadership. Healthcare settings have found that compassion training for medical professionals can reduce burnout while improving patient care and satisfaction. Educational institutions report that compassion practices help create more positive classroom environments and reduce bullying behaviors. The societal implications of widespread compassion practice are profound. At a time when political and social polarization appears to be increasing in many countries, practices that help people recognize shared humanity across group boundaries could contribute to community cohesion and reduced intergroup conflict. While large-scale studies on societal impacts are still emerging, smaller-scale research on group dynamics suggests compassion practices can transform how people relate across differences. For example, a study of Israeli and Palestinian teenagers who participated in a program that included compassion meditation found increased empathy across group lines and greater willingness to engage in dialogue. Corporate research shows that teams who engage in brief compassion practices before difficult negotiations achieve more mutually beneficial outcomes. Prison programs that incorporate compassion meditation report reduced violence among inmates and improved relationships between inmates and staff. What makes these findings particularly encouraging is how quickly some benefits begin to appear. While the deepest transformations in compassion capacity likely require sustained practice, research shows measurable changes in prosocial attitudes after even brief interventions. A study published in Psychological Science found that just 2 weeks of daily loving-kindness meditation increased helping behavior, empathic accuracy, the ability to correctly identify others' emotions, and feelings of social connection. The underlying mechanisms of these changes appear to involve several interrelated processes. First, compassion practices seem to reduce the self-focus that often limits our awareness of others' needs and experiences. By intentionally directing attention toward others' well-being, we become more attuned to social cues and more motivated to respond constructively to others' emotions. Second, These practices appear to increase positive emotions like joy, gratitude, and contentment, which research shows expand our perception and enhance our openness to social connection. Third, compassion meditation seems to reduce defensive reactions to others' suffering, allowing us to stay present rather than shut down or turn away. For those interested in developing compassion through meditation, several practical considerations are worth keeping in mind. Unlike some meditation practices that show benefits primarily through consistent daily practice, compassion meditation appears to work through both formal sitting practice and informal application throughout the day. Many practitioners find it helpful to begin with a formal loving-kindness session in the morning, then briefly extend the same well wishes toward people encountered throughout the day. It's also important to recognize that compassion practices often feel awkward or mechanical at first. Many people report initial resistance, particularly when directing loving kindness toward themselves or toward difficult people. This resistance is normal and typically diminishes with practice. Starting with easier objects of compassion, perhaps a beloved pet or a child, can help establish the feeling of loving kindness before extending it toward more challenging recipients. Another consideration involves balancing compassion for others with self-care. There's an important distinction between empathic distress, where we become overwhelmed by others' suffering, and healthy compassion, where we maintain a stable awareness while responding to others' needs. Research shows that compassion meditation actually helps prevent empathic distress and burnout by strengthening emotional resilience alongside care for others. This makes it particularly valuable for people in helping professions like healthcare, education, and social services. Despite the promising research, compassion meditation isn't a quick fix for deep-seated prejudice or conflict. Genuine transformation in how we relate to others typically requires both internal practice and external action, including education about social issues, direct contact with different groups, and structural changes that address inequities. That said, compassion practices can create internal conditions more conducive to this broader work by reducing defensive reactions and opening us to perspectives different from our own. What makes compassion meditation particularly valuable in today's world is how it addresses a fundamental paradox of modern life. While technology has connected us globally like never before, many people report feeling increasingly isolated and divided. Traditional community structures have weakened in many societies, and political polarization strains social bonds. Against this backdrop, practices that deliberately cultivate human connection and concern for others' well-being offer a powerful counterbalance to these divisive trends. The research on meditation and compassion represents a fascinating convergence of ancient wisdom and contemporary science. What contemplative traditions have claimed for centuries that the human capacity for compassion can be intentionally developed through meditation practice is now being validated and refined through rigorous scientific methods. This cross-cultural, cross-temporal validation suggests these practices touch something fundamental about human potential for connection and care. For individuals, compassion practices offer a way to transform our everyday social interactions, from family dynamics to workplace relationships to community engagement. For organizations, they provide tools for creating more collaborative, supportive environments, and for societies facing complex challenges that require cooperation across differences, they offer approaches that might help rebuild social trust and shared purpose. While not a solution to all social problems, the evidence suggests compassion meditation represents a valuable resource for anyone seeking to strengthen our human capacity for connection in an often fragmented world. While compassion practices can strengthen our human connections, it's interesting to consider how modern technology, often blamed for increasing social isolation, has paradoxically become one of the most powerful forces making meditation accessible to millions of people worldwide. This digital revolution in meditation represents a fascinating intersection of ancient contemplative traditions with cutting-edge technology, raising important questions about how these seemingly contradictory worlds can effectively combine. The proliferation of meditation apps over the past decade has dramatically transformed how most people encounter and learn meditation. What was once primarily transmitted through in-person instruction from experienced teachers has now become available to anyone with a smartphone. Apps like Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer, and dozens of others have collectively been downloaded hundreds of millions of times, introducing meditation to people who might never have accessed traditional meditation centers or retreats. These digital platforms typically offer guided meditation sessions ranging from 1 minute to an hour, often organized into themed courses addressing specific concerns like stress, sleep, or focus. Many include features like progress tracking, reminders, and community forums. The accessibility is unprecedented. Users can practice anytime, anywhere, often at a fraction of the cost of traditional instruction, and with options to fit nearly any schedule or interest. This democratization of meditation instruction represents both an enormous opportunity and a complex challenge. On one hand, these apps have undoubtedly introduced millions of people to beneficial practices they might otherwise never have encountered. On the other hand, research on digital meditation platforms shows variable effectiveness compared to traditional in-person instruction, raising questions about what might be lost in the digital translation. A study published in the Journal of Medical Internet Research compared outcomes between app-based meditation instruction and in-person training. While both groups showed improvements in stress levels and mindfulness skills, the in-person group demonstrated somewhat larger effects, particularly for sustaining practice over time. However, the digital group had significantly higher completion rates, likely due to the convenience factor. This suggests that while digital approaches might not be quite as effective on a per-person basis, their greater accessibility might lead to more people benefiting overall. The relationship between teacher and student represents one of the most significant differences between traditional and digital meditation instruction. In many contemplative traditions, the personal guidance of an experienced teacher who can observe, correct, and customize instruction is considered essential. Apps attempt to address this through increasingly sophisticated algorithms that adapt content based on user feedback, but the dynamic responsiveness of human interaction remains difficult to replicate digitally. Dr. Jack Kornfield, a renowned meditation teacher who has embraced digital platforms while maintaining a traditional teaching practice, explains, "Apps can be wonderful dharma doors. They introduce people to practices and make them accessible. But eventually, many serious practitioners benefit from direct guidance and community. The best approach may be using digital tools as entry points that eventually connect people with teachers and communities when they're ready for deeper practice." Beyond guided meditation apps, wearable technology now offers real-time biofeedback during meditation, creating new opportunities for practice optimization. Devices like Muse headbands measure brain activity through EEG sensors, while others track heart rate variability, respiration, or skin conductance, all physiological markers that can indicate meditation states. These devices provide immediate feedback to users about their meditation, typically through audio cues or post-session reports that show when their mind was calm versus active. This technological approach to meditation represents something genuinely novel: meditation with objective measurements rather than relying solely on subjective experience. Proponents argue this can accelerate learning by providing clear feedback about what works, helping practitioners understand when they're actually in meditative states versus just thinking about meditating. Critics counter that the emphasis on measurements and performance might reinforce goal-oriented striving that actually interferes with the essence of meditation practice. Research on biofeedback-assisted meditation shows promising initial results. A study published in the Journal of Cognitive Enhancement found that participants using EEG neurofeedback during meditation showed faster improvements in attention control compared to traditional meditation instruction alone. However, long-term studies comparing these approaches are still limited, leaving open questions about whether technology-enhanced meditation produces lasting changes comparable to traditional approaches. Perhaps the most immersive integration of technology and meditation comes through virtual reality meditation environments. Companies like Trip, Guided Meditation, VR, and Flow create multi-sensory virtual worlds specifically designed for meditation. Users might find themselves sitting beside a virtual mountain lake, floating among stars, or watching visualizations of their breath as colorful energy patterns, all while guided through meditation practices through spatial audio. These VR environments leverage technology's capacity to manipulate sensory experience in service of traditionally internal practices. Early research suggests these immersive approaches may be particularly helpful for meditation beginners who struggle with visualization or maintaining focus in traditional meditation. A study published in Mindfulness found that participants reported deeper relaxation and greater engagement when using VR meditation compared to audio-only guided meditation, particularly those who initially scored low on trait mindfulness. As these technologies evolve, legitimate concerns exist about screen time and technology dependence potentially contradicting meditation's core principles. Many meditation traditions emphasize simplicity, presence with natural environments, and freedom from distraction, values that seem at odds with devices designed to capture and monetize our attention. The irony of using attention-grabbing technology to develop attention skills isn't lost on many practitioners and teachers. David Levy, professor at the University of Washington and author of Mindful Tech, addresses this paradox. We need to approach digital meditation with awareness of the medium itself. Are we becoming dependent on technological intermediaries for a practice that's fundamentally about direct experience? At the same time, we should avoid reflexive rejection of helpful tools just because they're new. The question isn't whether to use technology for meditation, but how to use it skillfully. This concern extends to data privacy considerations. Many meditation apps collect extensive user data, including sensitive information about mental health and personal struggles. Users essentially trade personal data for meditation instruction, often without full awareness of how their information might be used for marketing or product development. This commercial aspect of digital meditation represents a significant departure from traditional contexts where meditation was typically taught within ethical frameworks emphasizing non-exploitation. Despite these valid concerns, the future of meditation technology points toward increasingly personalized approaches based on individual response patterns and needs. Machine learning algorithms analyzing thousands of users' experiences can identify which practices benefit specific types of people or address particular concerns most effectively. This data-driven approach to meditation instruction represents a fundamental shift from tradition-based transmission to evidence-based optimization. Personalization can operate at multiple levels. At a basic level, apps can recommend different meditation techniques based on user goals, preferences, and feedback. More sophisticated systems might incorporate biometric data from wearables to suggest specific practices based on detected stress levels or sleep patterns. The most advanced approaches combine multiple data sources with artificial intelligence to create genuinely personalized meditation programs that continuously adapt based on measured outcomes. Dr. Richard Davidson, neuroscientist and founder of the Center for Healthy Minds, sees promise in this approach. Different meditation practices activate different brain networks and produce different outcomes. As we better understand these variations and can measure individual differences in response, we can move toward precision meditation, recommending specific practices for specific people based on their unique needs and characteristics rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. The business aspect of digital meditation also merits consideration. The meditation app industry has grown into a multi-billion-dollar market, with leading companies valued at hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars. This commercialization has both accelerated innovation and raised questions about whether meditation's essence can survive market pressures towards simplification, instant gratification, and feature proliferation to drive engagement rather than depth of practice. For individual practitioners navigating this landscape, A balanced approach might involve using digital tools strategically while maintaining awareness of their limitations. Many experienced meditators report using apps as supplements to traditional practice, perhaps using guided sessions when traveling or during particularly stressful periods, while maintaining an independent practice and periodic in-person instruction or retreats. For beginners, apps often provide an accessible entry point, but the research suggests those who eventually connect with teachers and communities typically develop more sustainable practices. Some meditation centers and teachers have embraced hybrid models, offering both digital content and in-person opportunities. Recognizing that these approaches can complement rather than compete with each other. The pandemic accelerated this hybrid trend, with many traditional meditation centers developing robust online offerings out of necessity when in-person gatherings became impossible. This forced experimentation led to creative approaches combining digital accessibility with traditional depth, like online meditation courses with live teacher interaction, virtual group practice sessions, and remote retreats with real-time guidance. As we look toward the future of digital meditation, several trends appear likely. First, increasing integration of artificial intelligence will enable more responsive and personalized guidance. Second, improvements in biofeedback technology will provide more precise and comprehensive measurements of meditative states. Third, the distinction between digital and traditional meditation may blur as hybrid approaches become the norm rather than the exception. Perhaps most importantly, the meditation technology field will likely mature beyond its current, sometimes hyperbolic marketing claims toward more evidence-based, nuanced approaches that acknowledge both the benefits and limitations of digital practice. Just as meditation itself teaches discernment and balance, the field of meditation technology will likely evolve toward a more balanced understanding of technology's proper role in contemplative practice. What makes this intersection of ancient contemplative traditions and cutting-edge technology so fascinating is that both domains ultimately concern themselves with human attention and awareness. Meditation traditions developed sophisticated methods for understanding and training attention from the inside out through direct experience. Technology companies have developed equally sophisticated methods for capturing and directing attention from the outside in, through careful design. As these worlds continue to merge, the key question becomes whether technology will serve the deeper aims of meditation, or whether meditation will be simplified to fit technological constraints. For those interested in exploring digital meditation, approaching these tools with both openness and discernment offers the best path forward. Technology can provide valuable structure, guidance, and measurement, but the essence of meditation remains a deeply personal internal experience that no app or device can fully mediate. Used skillfully, digital tools can serve as bridges to deeper practice rather than substitutes for it, helping meditation practices that have benefited humanity for millennia reach even more people in our increasingly connected world. While technology continues to reshape how people access meditation, one area where these practices are making a particularly meaningful impact is in educational settings. Schools around the world are increasingly incorporating meditation and mindfulness programs into their curriculum, recognizing that teaching students how to manage their attention and emotions may be just as important as traditional academic subjects. This movement represents one of the most significant developments in education in recent decades, potentially affecting millions of children and educators. School-based meditation programs have shown impressive results in improving student attention, emotional regulation, and social skills. A landmark study published in the journal Developmental Psychology examined the effects of a mindfulness program implemented in elementary schools and found significant improvements in executive functions, self-regulation, and pro-social behaviors among students who received the training compared to control groups. These skills are crucial not just for academic success but for navigating life effectively. Michael, a fifth-grade teacher in Boston who implemented a classroom mindfulness program, observed, "I was skeptical at first, thinking we didn't have time for one more thing in our packed schedule. But after just a few weeks of daily 10-minute practices, I noticed my students were settling into learning activities more quickly, having fewer conflicts during group work, and showing more resilience when facing challenges. The time investment pays for itself multiple times over in improved classroom functioning. What's particularly encouraging about these programs is how they appear to benefit students across diverse backgrounds and with varying needs. Research published in the Journal of Child and Family Studies found that mindfulness interventions were effective across different socioeconomic groups and cultural contexts. The benefits were particularly pronounced for students with attention difficulties, anxiety, or behavioral challenges, precisely the students who often struggle most in traditional educational environments. Beyond the students themselves, teacher-focused meditation initiatives demonstrate substantial benefits for educators, including reduced burnout and improved classroom management. Teaching is consistently ranked among the most stressful professions, with burnout rates reaching alarming levels in many school systems. Studies show that teachers who participate in mindfulness training report significant reductions in stress, fewer symptoms of burnout, and greater job satisfaction. A study published in Educational Psychology Review followed teachers who completed an 8-week mindfulness program and found they experienced not only reduced stress, but also improved classroom organization and more positive relationships with students. Perhaps most importantly, they reported rediscovering their joy and purpose in teaching, the very qualities that likely drew them to the profession initially, but that can become buried under administrative demands and classroom challenges. Lisa, a high school English teacher with 22 years of experience, shared her experience. I was seriously considering leaving teaching altogether. The stress was affecting my health, my relationships, and my effectiveness in the classroom. The mindfulness program helped me recognize when I was getting triggered by student behavior and gave me tools to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. I'm not saying it solved all the challenges of teaching, but it gave me a way to work with the difficulties rather than being overwhelmed by them. These benefits for teachers ultimately impact students as well. Research consistently shows that teacher well-being and classroom climate are strongly connected. When teachers are less stressed and more present, students learn better. A study in the journal School Psychology Quarterly found that teachers who practice mindfulness created more emotionally supportive classroom environments and had students who showed greater engagement and academic progress. Despite these promising outcomes, implementation challenges include scheduling constraints, staff training requirements, and addressing diverse cultural perspectives. Finding time within already packed school schedules represents one of the biggest hurdles. Some schools incorporate brief practices at the beginning of the day or after lunch, while others integrate mindfulness moments into existing subject areas. Physical education, health classes, and advisory periods often serve as natural homes for these practices, though increasingly educators are finding ways to weave brief attention practices into academic subjects as well. Staff training presents another significant challenge. Effective implementation requires teachers who understand the practices themselves and can guide students appropriately. Most successful programs include substantial professional development components, with teachers receiving their own meditation training before introducing practices to students. This approach addresses a fundamental principle. Teachers can only effectively teach what they have experienced themselves. Cultural considerations also require thoughtful attention. In some communities, concerns about religious associations with meditation have created implementation barriers. Successful programs typically emphasize the secular, evidence-based nature of school mindfulness practices, focusing on attention training and emotional regulation skills, rather than spiritual or philosophical components. Many programs use neuroscience-based explanations and language carefully chosen to be inclusive and educationally relevant. Age-appropriate adaptations allow meditation practices to benefit students from elementary through university levels. For younger children, programs typically emphasize concrete, playful activities like mindful listening with sound instruments, mindful movement activities, or attention practices using visual objects. These activities are brief, often just 1 to 3 minutes, and use child-friendly language and concepts. Middle school programs incorporate more discussion about thoughts and emotions, recognizing adolescents developing capacity for metacognition, thinking about their own thinking. High school approaches often include more explicit stress management components, addressing the intense academic and social pressures many teens face. College-level programs frequently focus on focus and productivity skills alongside emotional well-being, recognizing the transition challenges many students experience. Research indicates potential academic performance benefits, particularly for students with attention difficulties. A study published in the Journal of Educational Psychology found that mindfulness training improved reading comprehension and working memory capacity among middle school students. Another study with high school students found improvements in standardized test performance following mindfulness training, with researchers attributing the gains to reduced test anxiety and improved attention control during challenging questions. These academic benefits make sense given what we know about how attention and emotional regulation affect learning. When students are anxious, stressed, or distracted, working memory capacity diminishes, making it harder to process and retain information. By giving students tools to regulate attention and emotions, mindfulness practices address fundamental barriers to effective learning. Beyond academic outcomes, school-based meditation programs show promising effects on school climate and discipline statistics. Research published in the Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions found that schools implementing mindfulness programs showed significant reductions in behavior referrals, suspensions, and reported bullying incidents. These improvements in school climate create better conditions for learning while reducing administrative time spent on discipline issues. The whole school approach to meditation implementation shows more sustainable results than isolated classroom initiatives. Schools that incorporate mindfulness practices at multiple levels, classroom activities, staff meetings, parent education, and administrative processes, report more significant and lasting benefits than those where meditation remains limited to individual teachers' classrooms. This comprehensive approach helps create a consistent culture where mindfulness skills are reinforced throughout the school community. Pioneer Valley Regional School in Massachusetts exemplifies this whole school approach. They begin each day with a brief school-wide mindfulness practice over the announcement system, incorporate age-appropriate mindfulness activities in classrooms, offer optional lunchtime meditation sessions for students and staff, include mindfulness components in their athletics program, and begin staff meetings with brief centering practices. The principal reports, "It's become part of our school culture, a common language and set of skills that everyone from kindergartners to senior administrators uses to navigate challenges more effectively." Parent involvement represents another important dimension of successful school meditation programs. Schools that educate parents about the practices being taught and provide resources for home reinforcement typically see more substantial student benefits. This parent connection helps extend the practices beyond school hours while addressing potential concerns about what meditation involves. Looking toward the future of meditation in education, several trends appear promising. First, increasing integration of social-emotional learning frameworks with mindfulness practices creates more comprehensive approaches to student well-being. Second, more sophisticated research designs are helping identify which specific practices benefit which types of students for which outcomes, enabling more targeted implementations. Third, teacher training programs are increasingly incorporating mindfulness components, potentially creating a new generation of educators skilled in these approaches from the beginning of their careers. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated interest in school-based meditation as educators recognized the urgent need to address students' heightened anxiety, disrupted attention, and social-emotional challenges resulting from pandemic-related stresses. Many schools implemented or expanded mindfulness programs specifically to help students and staff navigate these unprecedented circumstances. While born from crisis, this expanded implementation may create lasting changes in how schools approach student and teacher well-being. As with any educational innovation, maintaining realistic expectations remains important. Meditation in schools isn't a panacea for all educational challenges, and implementation quality varies considerably across settings. The most successful approaches integrate these practices thoughtfully within broader educational goals rather than treating them as add-on programs or quick fixes for complex problems. They also ensure practices remain developmentally appropriate, culturally sensitive, and responsive to the specific needs of each school community. What makes school-based meditation particularly valuable is its preventive nature. Teaching all students skills for attention management, emotional regulation, and stress reduction before problems develop, rather than waiting to address these issues remedially. In a world where attention challenges and mental health concerns among young people continue to rise, these foundational skills may be among the most valuable lessons schools can offer for lifelong well-being and success. The preventive approach that makes meditation valuable in educational settings has also captured the attention of healthcare systems worldwide. Just as schools recognize that teaching wellness skills early can prevent problems later, medical institutions are increasingly integrating meditation practices into conventional healthcare, not as alternative approaches that replace standard medical care, but as complementary tools that enhance overall treatment effectiveness. This shift represents one of the most significant developments in how modern medicine addresses health and disease, potentially transforming how millions of people receive care. Evidence-based meditation programs like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, are increasingly prescribed within conventional healthcare settings. Developed by John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center in the 1970s, MBSR was originally designed for patients with chronic pain who weren't responding adequately to conventional treatments. The 8-week structured program combines mindfulness meditation, body awareness, and gentle yoga in weekly 2.5-hour group sessions plus daily home practice. What began as a small experimental program has grown into a globally recognized intervention taught in hundreds of hospitals and medical centers worldwide. Research on MBSR now spans thousands of studies across diverse patient populations. Similar evidence-based programs include mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, specifically developed for preventing depression relapse, and mindfulness-based eating awareness training, MBEAT, for disordered eating patterns. Dr. Jennifer Wilson, a primary care physician in Chicago, explains how she incorporates meditation recommendations into her practice. I used to feel limited in what I could offer patients with stress-related conditions like insomnia, irritable bowel syndrome, or high blood pressure. Medication was often my only tool, despite knowing these conditions have strong mind-body components. Now I can refer patients to our hospital's MBSR program as part of a comprehensive treatment plan. Many report benefits beyond the specific symptoms they came in for. They're sleeping better, making healthier food choices, and feeling more equipped to handle life challenges. The integration of meditation into healthcare reflects growing recognition that many health conditions have both physical and psychological dimensions that require comprehensive approaches. Conditions like chronic pain, insomnia, anxiety, depression, and various stress-related disorders appear particularly responsive to meditation-based interventions, though research continues to explore applications for other conditions as well. Cost-effectiveness research suggests meditation interventions may actually reduce healthcare utilization and associated expenses. A study published in the American Journal of Health Promotion found that regular meditation practice was associated with a 17% reduction in total medical expenditures compared to the norm. Another study examining healthcare costs before and after an MBSR program found a 40% reduction in medical care utilization in the year following the program. These economic benefits make meditation programs increasingly attractive to healthcare systems and insurance companies seeking sustainable approaches to rising healthcare costs. When patients learn skills that help them manage chronic conditions more effectively, they typically require fewer emergency visits, hospitalizations, and medications, all of which translate to reduced healthcare spending while potentially improving patient outcomes and satisfaction. Medical schools now commonly include mindfulness training for physicians to improve clinical care and prevent burnout. More than half of American medical schools offer some form of mindfulness training within their curriculum, recognizing that physicians who develop these skills themselves can both model them for patients and maintain their own well-being in a demanding profession. Research shows that physicians who practice mindfulness demonstrate better communication with patients, make fewer diagnostic errors, and show greater resilience to burnout. Dr. Michael Krasner, professor of clinical medicine at the University of Rochester School of Medicine, has studied the effects of mindfulness training for physicians. We found that physicians who completed mindfulness training showed significant improvements in burnout symptoms, mood disturbance, and empathy. These benefits were still evident 15 months later, suggesting that mindfulness skills have lasting protective effects against the stresses of medical practice. This translates directly to patient care. Physicians who are less burned out provide better care. Despite the growing evidence base and institutional acceptance, challenges to wider implementation include insurance reimbursement limitations and varying levels of provider knowledge. Many insurance plans still don't cover meditation-based interventions, creating financial barriers for patients who might benefit. Some plans have begun covering programs like MBSR when prescribed by a physician for specific conditions, but coverage remains inconsistent across insurers and regions. Provider knowledge represents another implementation challenge. Many healthcare providers have limited training in meditation-based approaches and may not recognize when these interventions would be appropriate or how to properly refer patients. Those who do recommend meditation sometimes encounter resistance from patients unfamiliar with these practices or skeptical about their effectiveness for real medical problems. Patient education about meditation's benefits and limitations is essential for appropriate integration with conventional treatments. Effective implementation requires clear communication about what meditation can and cannot address, realistic expectations about outcomes, and appropriate guidance on how meditation complements rather than replaces necessary medical care. Dr. David Vargo, Research Director at the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, emphasizes this point. We need to be careful not to oversell meditation as a cure-all. For some conditions, it's an evidence-based primary intervention. For others, it's a helpful adjunct to conventional treatments. And for some conditions, we simply don't have sufficient evidence yet to recommend it. Precision in how we discuss meditation's role in healthcare is essential for maintaining both scientific integrity and patient trust. The integration of meditation into specific medical specialties varies considerably. Psychiatry and pain management have been early adopters, with substantial evidence supporting meditation's benefits for conditions commonly treated in these specialties. Oncology has increasingly incorporated meditation to help cancer patients manage treatment side effects and emotional distress. Cardiology has begun using meditation as part of comprehensive lifestyle approaches to heart disease prevention and rehabilitation. Prenatal care represents another area where meditation has gained traction, with mindfulness-based childbirth and parenting programs showing benefits for reducing pregnancy anxiety, managing labor pain, and preventing postpartum depression. Primary care has also increasingly embraced meditation approaches, particularly for patients with stress-related complaints, sleep problems, or conditions with strong mind-body components. The implementation models vary across healthcare settings. Some hospitals have established dedicated integrative medicine centers where meditation programs are offered alongside conventional treatments. Others incorporate meditation instruction into existing treatment protocols. For example, adding mindfulness components to cardiac rehabilitation programs or pain management clinics. Some healthcare systems partner with community organizations that offer meditation programs, creating referral networks that extend beyond hospital walls. Technology is playing an increasing role in making meditation accessible within healthcare systems. Some hospitals now prescribe meditation apps for patients who cannot attend in-person programs due to schedule constraints, mobility limitations, or geographic distance. Telemedicine platforms increasingly include meditation specialists who can provide individual or group instruction remotely. These technology-enabled approaches help address access barriers while potentially reducing costs. The future of meditation in healthcare points toward personalized approaches based on condition, patient preference, and response patterns. Rather than prescribing the same meditation program for everyone, emerging research suggests different techniques may be more effective for specific conditions or individuals. For example, focused attention meditation might be particularly beneficial for attention deficits, while compassion-based practices might better address social anxiety or self-criticism. Dr. Judson Brewer, Director of Research and Innovation at Brown University's Mindfulness Center, describes this precision approach. We're moving toward being able to match specific meditation practices to specific clinical presentations based on both the mechanisms of the condition and the mechanisms of the practice. This is similar to how we prescribe different medications for different conditions based on their mechanisms of action. We're not quite there yet with meditation, but the research is heading in that direction. The evidence base continues to grow in both quantity and quality. Early meditation research often suffered from methodological limitations like small sample sizes, inadequate control groups, and reliance on self-reported outcomes. More recent studies increasingly use larger samples, active control groups, and objective outcome measures including biomarkers and brain imaging. This improving research quality helps address skepticism from conventionally trained medical providers who require robust evidence before incorporating new approaches. As meditation becomes more integrated into healthcare, interesting questions arise about the relationship between these contemplative practices and modern medicine. Traditional meditation was developed within spiritual contexts with goals like wisdom and enlightenment rather than symptom reduction. Some practitioners worry that medical applications might reduce rich contemplative traditions to simplified techniques stripped of their wider context and deeper purposes. Others argue that adapting these practices for healthcare creates valuable bridges between different knowledge systems, potentially enriching both. By subjecting meditation to scientific investigation, researchers discover specific mechanisms and applications that might not have been recognized within traditional contexts. At the same time, traditional meditation knowledge offers insights about human experience that might not emerge from conventional medical research alone. This dialogue between traditional meditation wisdom and modern medical science creates opportunities for genuine innovation in healthcare. Rather than simply adding meditation techniques to existing medical treatments, the deeper integration of these approaches might ultimately transform how we understand health, illness, and healing more fundamentally. The recognition that attention, awareness, and relationship to experience play crucial roles in health outcomes represents a significant expansion of the conventional medical model. For patients navigating healthcare systems, the increasing availability of meditation-based options provides valuable additional tools for managing health challenges. The most effective approach typically involves working with healthcare providers to determine where meditation might fit within a comprehensive treatment plan based on both scientific evidence and individual needs and preferences. This collaborative approach recognizes that neither conventional medicine alone nor meditation alone provides complete answers to complex health challenges. The integration of meditation into healthcare systems represents an important evolution in modern medicine, one that acknowledges the complex interconnections between mind and body and recognizes that patients' internal resources can be mobilized as active components of the healing process. By bringing together ancient contemplative wisdom with contemporary medical science, this integration offers new possibilities for addressing some of healthcare's most pressing challenges, from chronic disease management to provider burnout to unsustainable costs. The evidence suggests these practices, once considered fringe or alternative, have earned their place as valuable components of comprehensive, patient-centered healthcare.